Well, guys, here we are. Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese. It's now out in theaters. It's now out for y'all to see. It's probably going to get a bunch of Oscar nominations once the time comes around. You have Leonardo DiCaprio appearing in a Scorsese flick for the 6th time in his career. Robert De Niro at 80 years old collaborating with Scorsese for the 10th time in his career. And you have Lily Gladstone coming in and being the heart and soul of this movie, just capturing your sympathy, yeah, let's talk about this. So this is based on a book by David Grant, and it tells the true story of white men in the 1920s in Oklahoma. They married into and systematically murdered Osage families to gain claims to their oil-rich land. Now, just built around the marketing and the whole little synopsis I just gave you, you can sense that this is a Scorsese flick rich in thematic material. This is a film about some greedy men, and it leads to a bunch of dark devastation. And nobody else but Martin Scorsese could have directed this movie. I mean, I don't think this is breaking news or anything, but Killers of the Flower Moon is objectively one of the strongest movies of the entire year. Scorsese, he knows how to rope you in. He knows how to tell a story. And at this point in his career, with all the instant classics that he's put out, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, both of which star Robert De Niro, The Departed, which is my personal favorite of Scorsese's, The Wolf of Wall Street. Like, the guy is an absolute icon. If you were to tell me that you think Martin Scorsese is the greatest director who ever lived, that's a hard point to argue against. And technically speaking, Killers of the Flower Moon is a brilliant motion picture. There's only a small handful of movies that can compete with this one for best cinematography, in my opinion. The framing and the haunting visuals that Scorsese is giving you, I mean, he's doing it like only he can. It's almost like he's got his little watermark attached on every single frame of work. And even though this is an enormous movie, 3.5 hours worth, that would turn a lot of people away from seeing this in a movie theater. But I'm telling you, Martin Scorsese at this point in his life does not have to be making movies anymore. He can be happily retired, just living off of his riches and reaping the benefits of all the classics that we're rewatching over and over again. He did not have to put this movie out at this point in his life, but he did. And damn, I mean, even though much like The Irishman, there were definitely points where I was kind of feeling the runtime a little bit, I was engrossed in every single piece of this narrative. And I will tell you that Killers of the Flower Moon is not for the faint of heart, man, because this is some devastating, gut-wrenching material that he's showing you. Like, it is so hard to believe that this is all true. And it makes you feel all the sympathy for Lily Gladstone's character, who honestly is the heart and soul of this flick. Like, if this woman does not get any sort of acting nomination from the Academy in any fashion, I feel like there's gonna be riots. Even though she's sharing the screen with juggernauts like Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, whom I'll get to, she is holding her own. And even though this is a character that runs the emotional gauntlet, Gladstone is up for the task, and you just, your heart breaks for this woman. Your heart breaks for her and all of the Osage natives that she's interacting with along the way. All this is true. It happened, man. Now, I gotta talk about Leonardo DiCaprio, because this is one of my favorite actors, and he doesn't do a whole lot of movies anymore. He can be very picky with his projects. He is absolutely electric as this character. There are definitely loads of points where I can certainly see that he is acting his heart out for the Oscar sizzle reel. But my goodness, his dialect and his physique for this part, he's competing with Christian Bale for that dedication to the physique, man. He is so freaking great in this. It may just be my favorite performance of DiCaprio since Wolf of Wall Street came out 10 years ago. Robert De Niro, though. You want to talk about a despicable human being? That's this character. He is undisputedly a master. One of the greatest actors to ever live. And this character is so different from a lot of stuff that he's been doing recently. This guy, he's very much like a wolf in sheep's clothing. You first meet him and he's a man of the people. He's very likable. But there's a snake in there deep down. And he's an absolutely disgusting individual. But you can't help but be gravitated towards Robert De Niro, and you just listen to everything out of this guy's mouth. You just can't help but be gravitated towards him. He is masterful. Clearly, there is not one issue with the acting in this flick. DiCaprio, De Niro, Gladstone especially, all freaking awesome. And this is similar to something I said about Christopher Nolan and Oppenheimer. It's very telling when you can take a very recognizable face like a Jesse Plemons, put him in this movie, and he's great in it as this FBI agent, mind you. Brendan Fraser, John Lithgow, same exact way. They both play attorneys who are conducting a trial. All three of these men have very small roles, and they sort of fade into the background if you really think about it. But similar to Chris Nolan, that just tells you the power that Scorsese has as a filmmaker, that these actors will come out of the woodwork to actually collaborate with this guy, and to actually take part in something so viscerally intriguing, while also ripping your heart clean out of your chest. Like, again, like, I tell you, if you're weak of heart, walk into Killers of the Flower Moon with caution, because it will absolutely jerk tears out of your eyes. And even though this is a very long movie, I may be the only one that felt the runtime in this case. You just cannot help but be intrigued by this masterful storytelling on the part of the director, cinematographer, composer, and every actor that takes part in this ensemble. Like, it's brilliant. Killers of the Flower Moon is everything that you thought it was from the marketing and then some. But mini rant incoming. I do have a lot of peers who have called this a masterpiece. I know I've used the word masterful work here, but I'm very, like, the golden rule on my channel, do not call a movie a masterpiece if it just came out. Because I feel like for a movie to have that distinct honor of being called a masterpiece, like, we're talking about BFI top 100 status. Like, the movie just came out. Reel it in. This isn't a knock on Scorsese at all, but, like, honestly, like, this is why I struggled calling Across the Spider-Verse a masterpiece right away. Like, you need to actually watch the film multiple times and then study it before actually calling it a masterpiece. So yeah, I just feel like that term's a little bit misleading to actually put that on Killers of the Flower Moon right now. I will say this, though. I feel like this movie has a humongous missed opportunity in front of it, because it made a very ballsy choice to tell it from the perspective of Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Ernest Burkhart. And he is in the middle of all this scheming and what have you. And honestly, I get it. The movie probably wouldn't have worked if you hadn't have told it from Leo's perspective. And also, Leo's a big star. He's on the poster. He'll sell tickets. Yeah, I get it. But how much more compelling and heartbreaking would this movie have been if it was told from Lily Gladstone's perspective? Because all due respect to Gladstone, but this is a character that is very much a supporting role to the shitty people who are in front of her. And this includes Leo's character. Like, I feel like the movie, like, I don't want to say it's too forgiving of him quite yet, because I've only seen the movie one time. And I don't want to spoil anything, just in case you don't know this story or if you haven't seen the movie yet. But, like, he had the choice to not be involved in this. Like, from a storytelling perspective, from what you see in the movie, like, why is the guy who's allegedly involved in this entire scheme the protagonist and the audience character? Like, I wanted Lily Gladstone to be the protagonist. I wanted to know more about her. Like, you guys remember The Last Duel when that came out a couple years ago? I don't know, because not enough of you saw it in theaters. But Ridley Scott did something so masterful in that, with Jodie Comer stuck in the middle of two behemoth actors. And I get it, it's a true story. You gotta be faithful to the material. But I feel like if you wanted the overall presentation to be as heartbreaking as possible, tell it from the perspective of the Osage people. I don't need to follow all these greedy white men to find out that they're human beings. Like, if Lily Gladstone was not in this movie and we were just following all the crime and the scheming, like, yeah, Scorsese and his direction being involved, yeah, it would have still been interesting, but it wouldn't have had the heart that it does because Lily Gladstone is in it. I don't know, maybe that's just me, and maybe that's just my film brain nitpicking, but this is definitely, objectively, one of the best films of the year. Martin Scorsese has still got it. Even though he's got nothing left to prove, he still puts out a damn fine motion picture for us. And if you're a film lover, chances are you were probably already going to go see it anyway, but this one has my stamp of approval. I'm going to give Killers of the Flower Moon an A. Only reason why it's not an A+ is because I think it just had that missed opportunity slip through their fingers that I just mentioned. But let me know what you thought of Killers of the Flower Moon down in the comments section below. What is your favorite Martin Scorsese film? Is it this one? Is it The Departed like it is for me? Lots that we can discuss over here and then some. And guys, feel free to keep in touch with me as I go through all the new releases coming out in theaters going into 2024. And I'm also chugging along in my Halloween playlist. Stay tuned for the rest of the reveals. It's going to be a really fun time over here. So hit that subscribe button if you're new. Tap on that thumbs up. It's a great community of film lovers and entertainment lovers over here, and y'all are invited to the party. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all are the best. Go check out Killers of the Flower Moon if you haven't already. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.